Because singing is medicine. Singing has the power to bring people together, almost like nothing else. It has such a healing power. I think we should all give ourselves some homework, and that is to go sing, to go home and sing and make the world a better place. There used to be songs for all sorts of occasions. Singing is our language of power. It is how we address the gods or spirits. It's how we soothe our children. It's how we gain power when we need to work. Or at least it used to be like that. Those words were uttered by Einar Selvik of Wardruna prior to him introducing the first encore of their current tour to introduce my personal favorite song, Helvegen. He also went on to state that leading into the intro, that one of the more important things that needs to be done in this world to make the world a better place is to forge these new traditions in song. With that said, this is I Am Heathen, and so can you. Warning! The content provided in this episode may be viewed as offensive to some. If you or anyone you know may be offended by this episode or the bulk of this podcast, we recommend going to your nearest religious institution or windowless room where the ills of the world cannot harm your piteously fragile way of thinking. You have been warned. What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of I Am Heathen, and so can you. We're going to be doing things a little bit differently today, as while this is both an episode of off-the-cuff heathenry, this is also the very first I Am Heathen, and so can you open lines episode. We are currently live on TikTok to all tens of my fans, and after I go through my little spiel, we're going to be bringing some people up to chat and have a discussion about what I'm going to be talking about. And if you're not playing the home game and you haven't figured out who the hell I am yet, I am your host, Havamal porn producer, Odin fetishist, and Mjolnir enjoyer, Einar. Now, as I said at the top of this thing, that was a quote from Einar Selvik of Wardruna. And Monday of last week, I also sat back and had the unspeakable honor of watching Sleep Token perform. And while a lot of people genuinely seem to find Sleep Token somehow overrated, people just don't like Sleep Token, Vessel is weird for people, whatever. It's not, there's not a lot of bands that can truly put on a show that will make people sit back and think they're in the middle of something spiritual. There's not a lot of bands out there that are capable of conveying such a presence through the physical and through their lyrics that move you to tears, inspire rage, make you cry, make you angry, make you think, and inspire you all at the same time. And I genuinely would like to sit and think that music, very much like food, is the great uniter. As my idol Anthony Bourdain proved through his books and his TV shows, that you can go anywhere in the world, listen to people's stories, listen to the struggles people go through, and experience a meal with them, and you could still see through any degree of hardship, any degree of difficulty, that hospitality will always be there, that there will always be smiles on people's faces so long as you're willing to put the work in and explore. Sleep Token started me on the way I'm currently feeling and the way I'm currently thinking. And Friday of last week, I went to go see Wardruna for the very first time. And this is a hot take, and I will die on this hill quite proudly saying it. Wardruna is better than Heilung. I sat through a minimalist performance of just a band playing their ever-loving hearts out. And I found myself moved. I found myself amped up. I found myself sad and joyful all at the same time. And these songs, as Einar Selvik said, are part of the creation of new traditions. But at the very core of those traditions is music's inherent ability to provide healing. Music's inherent ability to make people feel things regardless of where they are in life. And through the ability to feel those things, people can genuinely, truly not only become better people, but the world itself can be made better for people having had their minds opened and their horizons broadened. Now, what I can say as well, and what I can raise as a question, if music is medicine, what happens when that medicine is bad? What happens when the clinical trial genuinely fails and that medicine proves toxic? I have been on TikTok now for 4 very, very strange years, and I will flat out say I have made friends with many people from every single walk of life. I have found and lost love, and I have made friends that will last me a lifetime. Enter Peyton Parrish. I initially found him alongside of another TikTok creator creating Viking music. They were decked out like Skyrim villains. I was genuinely sitting through some of their videos, half expecting someone to run at me with a shank, screaming, "Skyrim belongs to the Nords!" But luckily that didn't happen. And as I listened and as I sat through most of Peyton Parrish's Viking music, and I say that in very heavy quotation fingers, an almost morbid curiosity, I realized that there were a pretty heavy set of recurring themes. Rowing, fighting, more rowing, and then Valhalla peppered in here and there. And I had said to myself, good lord, this man is essentially Viking Pitbull. Pick 3 lyrical themes, repeat, 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 until the people you are catering to are nauseated by your very presence. Now, nothing wrong with that. I mean, there are people who are gonna genuinely love the man's content until Ragnarok comes. But the fact of the matter is, it boils down to 2 things. It boils down to 2 very serious and very salient points that are frankly very near and dear to me. Number 1, while I am not an influencer and my ego has no business being that high up, I have been a content creator with a large scale account. In the 5 figures. Humble, but in the 5 figures. And I have had people appreciate my honesty about certain matters, appreciate how I approached certain things, and what I was told by certain creators was, "We appreciate what you do." And that put it into my head that as a content creator, I have a certain responsibility to ensure that my followers still feel my content has value, still feel that my content has some modicum of worth to it. And after having a conversation with a creator who was tied to Peyton Parrish, after having said conflating the term pagan and Viking is confusing to people new on their path, conflating the two terms would prove confusing. And I said that as someone who has a following, very much like you, should we be responsible to our new followers, to those new on the path, to not provide them with incorrect information? And this creator proceeded to tell me that he is not responsible for how people interpret his words. That creator and I no longer speak because of that. And secondly, is the style of content. Peyton Parrish's Viking music, at its core, appeals to newer pagans because it gives them something to glom onto. It gives them something to say, I'm here, I'm going to listen to this stuff ad nauseum, and I'm going to love Viking. I very genuinely believe that how you got here, how you came to this path, how you came to this faith is irrelevant. I care that you're here. But the fact of the matter is, if the reason why you're here, if something that inspired you to continue to push, to continue to move, to continue to dig and be better at your faith, to be a better pagan, to pagan better on the whole, turns around and pulls the wool over your eyes and goes, I'm a Viking, I'm a brave Drenger, I'm XYZ, when in reality the man's been a Christian the whole time. There are multiple people who I know personally who entered this path because of severe religious trauma at the hands of the Abrahamic faiths. And while I myself have more philosophical differences than spiritual and religious trauma, I believe that continuing to go hard line, hardcore into the Viking thing when people who look to Norse paganism, heathenry, Asatru, whatever you want to call it, as a religion, when you're a Christian, is wrong. It makes you no better than litigious ass Southern revival ministers. It makes you no better than litigious televangelists like the Right Reverend Billy Graham, Jerry Falwell, and others. I honestly believe that music like Heilung, music like Wardruna will prove eternally timeless because it comes from people who lived in the culture. It comes from people who lived those stories. It comes from people in a culture where those stories are ingrained into the DNA of the people. Now, what bothers me now more than anything, the issue that has turned me and inspired me to drop this episode here today is while I am not a Sleep Token diehard, I know many folks who are, and I know that many folks will be glad to defend Mr. Vessel Marie Token until the cows come home. And unfortunately, it came down to Peyton Parrish Jesusing Damocles. There is nothing wrong with being a Christian. There is nothing wrong with having religious convictions and being a person of faith. This, in and of itself, is not an attack on Christians. This, in and of itself, is not an attack on a faith that I never had a thing to do with. It is, in fact, an attack and a discussion against a man who said, and I quote, "I did the Viking thing for fun. I did it until it made me feel like I was quote unquote cavorting with demons." And the Viking thing is now part of his testimony. Now, were this any other person, if this was a person who found Norse paganism and felt it didn't deliver in their lives and turned to the church, I would be tremendously supportive. I would be so very, very supportive of someone finding truth, of someone finding faith. But the fact of the matter is, Peyton Parrish's particular Jesusing of Damocles is also an example of historical Christian erasure, and barely anyone has seen fit to talk about it yet. If you look into the lore of Sleep Token, Vessel 1, 2, 3, and 4 are all adherents of the god Sleep. Everything they do is an offering, is a token to the god Sleep. And Peyton Parrish turning around and Jesusing Damocles is in and of itself an example of multiple instances of Christian erasure, of Christian adaptation to suit the alleged delicate Christian sensibilities. And we will be addressing that point to address the delicate Christian sensibilities of his audience. He may have been Christian for 4 years. And certain people may up and say that certain communities on social media platforms may be bored to fucking tears over this. But it boils down to, again, the healing power of music. The healing, changing, life affirming power of music. And the blatant insult that comes from that erasure, from something that people feel so intensely strong over, feel so intensely hard lined and hard attached to, that it elicits this level of an upset response. Now, I'm not here voicing my upset. I'm not here voicing the fact that I think Peyton Parrish is an awful artist, because I genuinely think that. I made the choice to drop a video or two and say I would like to sit in on an interview with Peyton Parrish, discuss his faith, discuss his beliefs, and discuss the transition from the Viking thing to the Christian thing, regardless of the duration of time he's been a Christian. The fact of the matter is, a lot of people just find him cringy. A lot of people just find what he does hacky and kind of trite. And those people are valid as fuck in their opinion. And at the same time, there is nothing wrong with praise music. There is nothing wrong with writing music in your faith, in your faith's tradition, that praises your deity. There ain't shit wrong with it. And if anybody thinks that, we're in and of itself looking at an even bigger problem. Now, what I would like to say before we start bringing guests up here is, why is he a grifter? Now, I think if we were to attribute that word to him, it would be because he did this stuff to cater to Viking fans, never specified pagans, but he did say Viking fans in a couple of things. I got to watch footage of him at Wacken Open Air in 2025, and it was not good. But the fact of the matter is, he has jumped to praise music. He claims it's his Viking thing was part of his spiritual journey. And in that spiritual journey, he doesn't seem to understand why new pagans who found his music, who glommed on to his music, are upset that a Christian was making their music. And obviously, he's incurred the wrath of Sleep Token fans at this point because he Jesus Damocles. So, with that said, we're about to start opening up the boxes. Now, as I said before, everybody's going to get a 2 to 3 minute time to speak their piece. Anybody else I bring up will mute it. One speaker at a time. You're going to give me 2 minutes, and we're going to bring up the live segment. Ladies, gents, and all points in between, we are back for the live segment of this episode. Welcome to I Am Heathen, and so can you. Open lines. Shadow Wolf, you are our first person in the boxes. How you feeling about what we talked about today?
Oh, it's one of those. I had talked to him 4 years ago about, and I said, I've never had a problem with his faith. I've known he's been Christian all along. I'd had no problem with what he was doing as far as the aesthetic. I was like, it goes good. It's one of those, it really did help out in some aspects. Yes, it was very much cosplay, but it's one of those, it's fine. You're an entertainer. That's fine. But I said, as long as you do not turn into another Harry Johnson.
Now, for those of us out there who are living under a rock, I wax. I don't know what a Harry Johnson is, so could you explain who Harry Johnson is?
Harry Johnson is the lead singer to the band Tear.
Okay.
They this band is from the Faroe Islands. So most of their first couple albums, they really was placed on the whole Viking Norse aesthetic mythology, it was all themed, it was all geared towards that. Harry Johnson himself was raised Lutheran, which in the Faroe Islands, that's pretty much the state religion, in that area. But he later became atheist, and he stated in a radio show, once you tear apart one mythology, going after every one of them seemed to fall into place, and he started to openly mock anyone with a pagan faith that were fans of his band. And even you can find the interview written out for transcript on the internet still. And under one of my videos, I went ahead and posted parts of it as screenshots. But the interviewer tried to back his train up a little bit. It's like, wait a minute, it was kind of a situation. You're cutting your nose off to spite your face. But no, he continued to keep going. And between that and some of the more controversial views that he's had over Middle Eastern politics and his stance on the Faroe Islands ritualistic whale hunts that they have each year, he really torpedoed the band by himself. And I told Peyton, I said, I don't care what your faith is. I said, but don't turn into another Harry by going ahead and focusing all your energy into this demographic, this fan base, and then turn around and slap them in the face. And 4 years later, what did he do?
Now,
Exactly that.
When you said these things to him, did he have something to say in response?
Yeah. He said, and I quote, "My faith has nothing to do with the music I make."
Okay. Off to a good start with this already. Maddie, you popped into the boxes second. Shadow Wolf, thank you for your time on this. Maddie, welcome in to Open Lines.
Hello. We kind of talked about this. Are you ready?
Reiterate. I mean, if you feel like going full blown Patrick Bateman, mute up. But I think you're okay.
No. So listen. Um I'm the type of person where I do like a lot of music and I do listen to some worship music and some pretty big creators of Christian worship music. There are some creators that I do genuinely enjoy. And I have tried to see this from, there's a lot of people in my life who have been like, I can't even, I just skip him when he comes on, whatever. Like, that is something that I've heard a lot in this community and listening to music. Oh, it's Peyton Parrish. I'm going to skip it. I'm not that type of person. I'll listen, but I've never enjoyed his voice personally. Where I got mad, genuinely mad, is when the music from a band that has singularly been the reason I feel emotions over the last year was hijacked. When a mystique was taken, when words were written over music that was meant to take you to somewhere that is so deep and so intricate and was negated down to like Jesus this and God that. That's where I got upset because not only is it intellectual property theft under the name of God, telling people to read their Bibles that, like, mind you, he's not even reading because last I checked, there is no fruit of the Spirit labeled greed. And the 10 Commandments say, Thou shalt not steal. But what is Peyton Parish known for? Stealing other people's work and being nasally and off key, needing auto tune. That's my 2 cents.
Seawolf, you're up, and right before you come up, we have one more up into the boxes. Rowdy, welcome to Open Lines. Mute up when you pop in. Seawolf, you're up, my friend.
I don't know how I can even go on a rant without using some really vile four-letter freaking words in an entire strand of freaking eloquent ranting of spouting in the most lyrical way that would cause a nun to freaking faint.
We'll say,
Absolute most vile ego. He doesn't give a shit about anybody, including that David Christensen guy, which he completely manipulated for his own rights as well. Every single piece of music he's done, and yeah, he has absolutely zero talent. He digitizes shit. The man has been known to not only have people that come into his live that challenge him, have his people gang stalk him, but then dox them, falsely report them, get them banned. He does that across all of his social media. He is a worthless, absolute scum. I didn't like him from the beginning. Look, I'm not some soothsayer sage. Pretty good at picking up on people. First couple of videos I saw, it's like, this guy's a fucking problem. Now, listen, you want to be a cosplayer, you like to show Vikings, you want to go to Renaissance festivals, whatever, that's fine. But don't lead people on to think that this is something that you're passionate about, when really you're just using it to get the coin and you don't really give a shit about your people, especially you're using your own fans. He can fuck off.
thank you. I'm gonna have to find a construction crew now because you didn't just drop the mic, you threw the bitch through the floor. Rowdy, before you come up, Tilla, you sent a guest request. Sent a guest request. I'm putting you in. Mute up once you come in, my friend. Did you? He dropped the request. Disregard. Rowdy, you're up, my man.
No, sorry, I'm not as I have struggled with my faith for several months now, and I've actually abandoned the pagan faith for reasons of my own. But I never supported Peyton Parrish, and not for the reasons that you would think.
Okay.
I I feel like, hey, dude, You know, as a singer myself, who's also kind of like him, not very good, needing a little help, I understand what he did. I think he did something that was cool. And also, nobody in here can say that Peyton Parrish didn't bring many people to this faith group, right? Nobody can, it's just like the TV show Viking. You can't say that that didn't lead many people to the faith. You can't say it didn't. It did. As cringy as it was, as cringy as he is, so many people used his music, to kind of the songs that he sang. He used, well, people used that to bring other people to this faith group. And although I have since kind of backed away from the faith, I can't say that he's not part of the reason why I found the people in this faith group that I call my brothers and my sisters.
Right.
And you can say authenticity all you want or whatever, but it's like at the end of the day, there's so many quote unquote pagans on here that cling to Christian beliefs, Christian viewpoints. I mean, is it really that bad that he made some music? How many people did he lead to this space? You can be mad at him all you want. I'm all for it. I mean, I never fucking liked his music, to be honest with you.
See, that's
But
that's the thing. This was the point I was initially trying to raise, and admittedly, I bear you no fault in this whatsoever because you weren't here when I was doing my little 20-minute spiel before I open the lines up. I genuinely believe till the day my elbows touch wood, I don't give a fuck how you got here. I don't give a fuck what got you here. But if the thing that provided you that spark of inspiration, if the thing that provided you the incentive to dig and grow deeper in your faith pulled the w- removed the wool from your eyes and you saw that it was a Christian that brought you here when you yourself suffered from a deep-seated sense of religious trauma at the hands of the Abrahamic faith, I think that's a very soul-crushing experience to endure.
probably I would counter that with, I mean, simply because just like some pagans are bad. Some people who sit on this app and scream and holler. Dude, I got ousted by basically the entire North stock because I called out one motherfucker and run him off this app. And so many people let him back in. And I fucking told everybody what the fuck he was. I mean, it's the same thing. The problem that I have with North talk in general is because it got quote unquote Christianized. Not that I have a problem with Christianity. I'm studying Christianity myself right now, but I mean, how am I supposed to sit here and hate Peyton Parrish when literally 90% of Norse talk is nothing but drama and fucking bullshit? It's the same thing as Christianity. It's just a different flavor. Like I'm exaggerating.
Shadow Wolf,
Wow.
unmute. Rowdy, mute up if you got it, if you can.
His origins never was the issue. The issue on this factor is when let's go ahead and look at a pattern for him. He took off on a stint of Disney covers when Peter Hollins was pretty much the end all be all for that genre. He come in on his coattails to start trying to do that. He's done the same thing when it same thing when it comes to Norse. He done the same thing when it comes to doing the cover for Cranberries. And now at this point in time, he's decided that he's all of a sudden all in Christian right after, and he said right after his issue with Miracle of Sound. The issue isn't his faith, it's his lack of being genuine. Now, me, I'm heathen, but I'm also Appalachian. I'm also half Lakota. Am I going to go ahead and turn my back on those things just because I'm heathen? Absolutely not. The fact of the matter is, if he's Christian and wants to be Viking, well, be Viking. Has nothing to do with what's around your neck. It has nothing to do with what your faith is. But the fact of the matter is, if you're being genuine to your fan base, you don't stab them in the back when the new thing comes along. And in this situation, what he has done, he has hopped on the train that people like Lucas Miles just did because of what recently just happened. John Schneider brought out music to honor Charlie Kirk. So did a bunch of others. Instead of him doing that, what's he do? I'm born again Christian. I'm this. I'm this. Immediately when that train hit.
So the one thing that we're not gonna do, I have to put a caveat into this. We're not gonna bring up Charlie Kirk right now because it's for this particular live, it's way too divisive, and that I do not need the hammer brought down on all of us right now. So, Spectre, welcome to Open Lines.
Hello. Don't mind me. I just woke up.
So, did you see any of the video content I put out regarding what we were going to be doing here tonight?
No.
Okay. So then I'll ask
No, I
you,
just got the invite. I came running. Hey, how you doing?
what are your thoughts on Peyton Parrish as someone who is pagan adjacent?
I have never liked him. For years, I have never liked the guy. He's kind of always been a bit of a douchebag when it came to his personal dealings. So expecting him to be accountable or to admit that he did wrong is going to be a waste of time. I mean, he hasn't just fucked over Miracle Sound. He's fucked over quite a few smaller music artists as well. And he has not responded to anything. I mean, it's the kind of the same situation that Modern Warriors got going on, in my opinion.
God's Modern Warrior. That's another
He's back.
mess.
Oh, he's back, by the way, and he's back on the Hey Colonizer
Whoa. I do
again.
I do have to point out, quote, I'm sorry for cutting in, Spectre, quote of the day for this episode from my man Justin. If Peyton Parrish is pagan, I'm Wilford Brimley. So, but yeah, that's the thing that a lot of people are so up their own asses about the whole he's a faker, he's a swindler, he's this, he's that. I have sat back in the Bifrost beat us. Holy fuck, dude. I have sat back in the fact and the thought that if you are new to this path and the very first thing you're exposed to that is even remotely akin to the faith or something surrounding that faith proves to be something that gave you the reason to leave your old spiritual life, I think that is a very damning, soul-crushing experience to have to deal with. I know you haven't had your coffee, buddy, and I'm probably overloading your brain right now.
You're good.
So what are your thoughts on what I said?
I have no disagreements. I'm
Um,
just kind of I'm laughing to myself about how, and again, he like Einer said before, I'm adjacent. I do find it kind of funny how the faith, how your guys' faith has grown and I'm using air quotation marks to differentiate between the ones that don't know, and they've based their entire faith off the show Vikings. But the main drive to the Norse talk side of things has been the sexualization or the in quote unquote empowerment from that show. And Peyton Parrish wrote on that. That's my thought.
All right.
As uneducated as it is.
Thank you for your time, Spectre. I am going to bring up a very interesting point, and I'm going to bring Maddie back in for this because she is one of the bases for me bringing everybody together for this episode today. One of the more profound things I've heard from speaking to people about this whole shitty mess with Peyton Parrish is the ability to feel music, the ability to have an ingrained, heavily elicited emotional response from music. Like, I can talk about how hard Wardruna's affected me until I turn blue in the fucking face. But the most sincere thing I have heard out of anybody in regard to this is Maddie's perceptions of Sleep Token, and I would love for Maddie to unmute right now and drop some fucking truth.
So, I'm diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder. I don't feel emotions the way that people do. I had to teach myself empathy. I had to teach myself what that looks like and what it's supposed to look like and how to act in that way. I absolutely struggle with feeling emotion. To me, music is an irritation. It's loud and it's overwhelming and it makes your blood change. It makes your heart rate change. Like bass is irritating to me. But when it comes to Sleep Token, it feels like I'm hearing from home. There's something in the way that the music works with the lyrics, whether the lyrics are in English or other languages, the way that the patterning is, I feel like I am home and I can feel and I can breathe and I don't have to think, how is everybody else reacting to this? How am I supposed to react to this? I just react. It's the only time I've really felt that with a band. And I know you had expressed you feel that way with a different band, and that's valid. But when that's stolen, when that's taken, when that is perverted, it feels like my land, my home is being invaded. And that's the feeling that I'm mad about.
Seawolf, there is actually another interesting artist, well, okay, lack of artistry on their part I can bring up in this conversation that would elicit a similar response. And I think you and Shadow Wolf and myself and Maddie to some extent are of the same mind in this regard. We love our history, we love our culture, we love the knowledge, the learning, and the understanding that comes from it. And when we see certain people, to a degree, half-assing the ever-loving fuck out of it, it elicits a tremendously angry response. And I think another really piss-poor example of that level of half-assery comes from the Wolfgang twins. And I see Seawolf rolling in his chair right now, about to throw himself off camera. This is the part of the show where everyone will be offended. Seawolf, you have the floor.
First off, two quick bullet points about Mr. fucking Jim Jones, I mean Peyton Parrish. One, and this is something that was brought up earlier, and I'm going to try to be very paraphrased regarding this. I don't care what spiritual belief you are. If you claim to be Hindu, Buddhist, Muslim, Norse pagan, Celtic pagan, whatever. If you're doing it under false premises, you're creating yourself you're creating yourself as a facade being a false prophet, which means your intentions aren't good, which means you're causing spiritual trauma. So all these people that started following Peyton Parrish, thinking, "Oh, this man is a voice for us," only for him to come out and basically spit on them. That is spiritual trauma about people that probably were Christians finding their path thinking, here's a new, and yet this is another, because Christianity is full of false prophets. We all know this. So, no, I have to disagree with statements that were made earlier regarding, oh, it doesn't matter who it is as long as you're finding your way. That's traumatizing for people. Second point with him is this, and I'm just going to say this last thing about Peyton Parrish is this, is that I have seen video testimonies. I've even talked to people who simply asked him or challenged him away, like saying, hey, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? And he literally caused them so much dismay that they didn't just get out of social media. They had to go get counseling because they were getting so harassed viciously by his groupies and stuff. Is this a man that people really want to say give him any kind of pass? No, he gets no pass. Now, the Wolfgang fucking Bindroom twins. Let me tell you a quick little story about those guys because I actually know them. A number of years ago, I got sent this video of these two twins with their big drums doing a song called Berserker. So I'm like, all right, let me check it out. Oh, and by the way, also North Stock is trash. You can't change my opinion. So uh I check out this video, and what do I see on their big drum? The Japanese anime mark of what's it, the mark of sacrifice symbol, which I talk about actually in the Binding chapter in my books. And I go on there and I left a pretty lengthy comment about how this is setting false premises and teaching incorrectly. And this is not, and explained it. They personally went on the freaking warpath against me, and I didn't freaking, you know me, I'm like, all right, let's do this. And they blocked me. And that's why I make those videos educating about that. And that's why I actually devoted a section in my chapter on bind runes in my book series where I talk about that very, because ever since they've done, I've seen people like, oh, I got my berserker tattoo. I'm like, oh, Jeebus, fuck, here we go again.
Uh, I'm sorry, the weeaboos got mad at you for pointing out the, oh.
No, not the Weebs, the Wolfgang twins. These people who had the brand of sacrifice in their like gear and their aesthetic, and they're passing this off as an actual bind rune, saying it has historical ties to the Viking Age.
I'm gonna lump them in with the weebs. I'm sorry. Too cynical otherwise.
The point is that, you know, if you want to market yourself in a certain fashion, you have the right to do that. But when you are basically spitting in the face of a culture, of a tradition, of spiritual practices and beliefs, no matter if it's Christian or Muslim or Hindu or Polynesian or whatever, you're a piece of shit.
Okay, we've got two people new up into the boxes. Hope, unmute. How are you? Hopefully you are going to not make good on your threat to be unkind. Either way, I appreciate the fact that you're here. Justin, welcome in.
What's up, man?
So, Hope, how do you feel about what we've been going on about so far today? And by the way, welcome to Open Lines.
Hi. I just have some more to expand on, like with what Maddie was saying in a slightly different way. So token, I mean, I haven't been diagnosed formally, but I am not neurotypical. And sleep token allows me to healthfully process and express my emotions in a way that isn't destructive to myself or others. Um, that alone is something that like you don't touch it. To me, don't touch it. And then also the community that they built. There are some bad apples, but overall, I see them. They see all the band. It's a symbiotic organism. Like it is. Don't touch. My third point, and I'll leave it at that because I will not be unkind, is the band themselves speak out about people who try to reveal their identity. Do you really think they want you sitting on their work, their artwork, and that is downplaying the amount of, and I know it sounds dumb, but the amount of lives alone they have saved, like it just can't be touched by someone who's this inauthentic.
Mute up,
And I'll
Justin.
leave it there.
Actually, never mind. Hope just muted up. Justin, holy shit. Other than the creepy laughter, welcome to Open Lines, fucker.
What's up, man?
So, I know you came in at the tail end of Wolf's first rant, which was phenomenal, by the by. So, how do you feel about what are your thoughts on Peyton Parrish? This is something I've genuinely never picked your brain about.
I think he's a good example of, and this isn't a pagan issue, this is a modern world issue. It's everything has been commodified to shit. Whether it's paganism or Christianity, I think personally Islam has done a better job at this than Western religions, but it's been how many Christians have you met where they couldn't tell you what the Beatitudes are? They couldn't tell you what the Sermon on the Mount was. It's a convenient social costume to wear. And I think paganism has the same sickness right now, more or less.
Now, one of the things that I harped on when I was discussing Peyton Parrish earlier on is, in my experience in dealing with his content and his music, a lot of people found him at the infant stages of their time walking this path. And I genuinely believe that if you're given something to glom onto, something that inspires you, something that pushes you to be better in this faith, when the wool is pulled from your eyes and the thing that made you a better pagan was still the thing that gave you the trauma to leave your old spiritual life to begin with, that shit is super duper traumatizing. It's fucked up.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what it is? Like, I'll say this too. Just if something introduced someone to a certain spiritual path, and then they were like, okay, obviously, this isn't a wellspring of information, but it's my introduction to something, and then they actually did the work and went deeper down, like, cool. Like, the Vikings TV show, I'm like, it was entertaining television. Just like I don't watch fucking Jurassic Park for paleontology research, I don't watch Vikings for Norse pagan information. It's like it's entertainment. Like you can separate the two things if that makes sense.
Wait, you mean I shouldn't have been reading Penthouse for the gripping writing style?
It depends what you mean by gripping, like a Kegel?
Getting spicy early, but you're absolutely right.
Yeah, it's this because look, probably someone's introduction to heathenry isn't going to be the Eddas. It's going to be some kind of pop culture reference.
Exactly.
Whether maybe it's like a video game like God of War or Hellblade. And if that's their introduction, cool. As long as they're not like, this is an actual theological, concise perspective on the faith, whatever, man. You know?
Exactly. I, to this day, Anton LaVey, of all fucking people, bases my opinion on people joining a faith path. Literally, the first fucking sentence in the Satanic Bible is place your faith in a religion that has your best interests at heart, mine or otherwise. And I developed the school of thought of, I don't give a fuck how you got here. I give a fuck that you're here. And as I've gotten older and spent longer time on my path, I've come to the realization that I don't care how you got here. I care that you're here, but I also care about your opinion. Did you make the right decision coming here in the first place? Because like I said before, that concept of being re-traumatized by your previous Abrahamic baggage by someone like Peyton Parrish is going to do nothing but drive you out of the community you found, drive you out of the belief you found, and the faith and the sense of peace that whatever the fuck you chose to believe delivered that your previous faith didn't.
Yeah, which is completely uprooting your worldview. That is, I understand why there's so much, I guess, bleed over, you could say, with people that transition from a Abrahamic faith into paganism, why there, because you really need to uproot your entire worldview. But that being said, you got to start at some point and realize this is not the same cosmology. It's not. It's not apples to apples whatsoever.
Exactly. Justin, thank you for your thoughts. Dari, my friend, unmute
Hello.
and welcome to Open Lines.
Hi there. Just got off work, so I apologize that I've missed everything.
You're fine.
But yeah, for the most part, I agree with everything that I've heard so far. Like, especially because my introduction to anything Norse was the old Lutheran No Hulk show.
Deep fucking cut. Holy shit.
My favorite Thor is from that movie. Sorry.
And obviously it's dramatized, and we could talk about accuracy of stuff that's not meant to be accurate all day. I think a lot of people within this context of Peyton Parrish feel more betrayed because when you're going into anything, the first thing you think about is the aesthetics. How do I look like this is my identity? And for a lot, that was Peyton Parrish, despite him being an evangelical Christian the whole time, which is inherently a bad thing. But
Absolutely. We were wondering when you'd pop up, Dari. You focus on getting home, get home safe. Liam, grab that phone and welcome to Open Lines.
So, my thoughts on the Peyton Parrish. I'm sure you guys have seen some of my videos that I've made about it already, and I'll explain why my feelings are this way. One, it's not so much that he did Viking music and happened to be a Christian the entire time. It's the fact that he openly grifted the entire community on purpose to push his agenda. He even 7 years ago, when he was doing his first bit of music before he got really popular with all the Disney stuff, he was on there trying to make Christian rock and roll, and his music wasn't that great. And he tried to grift the Christian community when he was doing that, tried to sell books about Christian comic book stuff that he was pushing for his friend. And guess who his friend happened to be? David Christensen, who was the one who was paying for the Christian comic books to be written. And the information in those Christian comic books was wildly inaccurate compared to what is actually believed by Christians. It was just a bunch of nonsense to try to push and sell something. I remember Ireker, myself, and a bunch of other people called Peyton Parrish out then when he first got into the Viking cosplay music with David Christensen. A lot of people were warned about him. He has not only ripped off somebody that he has claimed to be a friend with, which is the Miracle Sound, not one song, but actually 4 of that guy's songs, 4 of them, and spun them off as that they were his and lied to the entire community, put on this whole fake persona as if he's actually a Norse pagan and into the culture, when really it was just a money grab. And now, not only did he do that, he never actually apologized for that. And a lot of people in the community, and I don't mean Norse pagan, I mean people in his community, a lot of people who are his followers know that he ripped off Miracle Sound. And they are still pushing him as if he's some great person and did all this stuff great for the community. And then he turns around and blatantly rips off not just a sample of music from Sleep Token, but an entire fucking song, the entire music score. He changed 2 things in that music score. That was it. Only 2 small things. And the rest of that music score is 100% identical to one of their really most well recognized songs. And then he put his own lyrics over it and then claimed that he wrote the song. That is my issue with this. I don't give a fuck how many people he brought to Christianity or how many people he brought to Norse paganism. That's neither here nor there. My issue is that there are people within spiritual spaces who commit theft and lie and deceive to better their pocketbook. And they don't give a flying fuck who they hurt in the wake. They don't care who they're stealing from in the wake. And we see this theme in the West from the UK to the Americas for the last at least 700 years, a repetitive theme from colonizing mentality of people where modern day Western society, which stems from that colonized ideology, we think that if we can turn a buck on thing, we are owed it and should have every right to turn a buck on it and not face any fucking consequence. The wake up call here is the North stuff. There's a lot of deep, deep, deep sacredness and a lot of the rituals and a lot of the terminologies and a lot of the meanings behind a lot of the Scandinavian lore. Same thing with Christianity. To their faith, there's a lot of deep, rich meaning that is important to their culture. And when you have people like Peyton Parrish who are cockroaching off of the culture to push their pocketbook so they can make more sales, all they are doing is diminishing the value of what those values and cultures stand for and what they represent and what they actually are intended to mean. And then you have an entire generation of people who are blind to wanting to hear anything that is actually factual about those cultures and traditions. And that's where the problem lies for me. I think it's utterly disturbing that there are so many people who jump on a bandwagon just because it's popular or hot. Like Miss Hilton says, it's hot.
I just want to throw a side note there. I did not share my cockroach theory with him, so that is even better.
Shadow Wolf, welcome back up to Open Lines, my friend.
Maddie brought up a very good point where the fact that I think it's called synesthesia, where you actually see music in a way other than just the auditory, where people like she doesn't usually have that ability and actually has it with Sleep Token, and having that ripped from her that way is a travesty on its own. But give examples. A person may not be Christian, may not even like country music, but you cannot deny hearing Brooks and Dunn saying, I believe. You can't tell me that you can't feel that song when Ronnie Dunn sings it. The same with my cousin, Vince Gill, Go Rest High on the Mountain. Now, if someone takes those songs and they alter them, you've altered the feeling to that song. You've altered everything about it. And also you've altered the memories that are associated to that song. And that is traumatic in itself when it comes to some people. Peyton Parrish done that exact thing to me on one song that he did, and that's Zombie by Cranberries. The main reason for that is everybody knows my mom used to sing in the band Triple Threat. She did the song Zombie with Triple Threat, and it's on YouTube on my page when they did it. The fact of him adding that god awful growl to that song just grates.
See, and if you look up the history of that song Zombie and the song that inspired Zombie, I don't know how many of you, just literally by a show of hands or middle fingers or what have you, how many of you have heard the song The Wind That Shakes the Barley? That's what inspired Zombie. Tommy Vexed of Bad Wolves, as much of a pain in the ass as I think Tommy Vexed is, because I've dealt with him from his days in Divine Heresy, his time with Fear Factory, even to now. Tommy Vexed, he was also a security guard at Irving Plaza in Manhattan, little known fact. But Tommy Vexed was actually very friendly with Dolores O'Riordan. Tommy Vexed knew Dolores O'Riordan, loved the woman like a fucking sister, and got permission from Dolores O'Riordan's family to actually produce a cover of Zombie. And it was, I genuinely think that doing a cover faithful to the original is a little, to me, it expresses a lack of originality in the hands of the artist. But given the nature of Dolores O'Riordan's passing, that song, it staying super close and super faithful was the only direction that song could go. And with that, I'm going to give my final thoughts, and we're going to close this fucker up, and we're either going to let it devolve into chaos or just see where the fuck. Oh, Seawolf, you had something. I saw the finger going up. I didn't know if you were digging for gold or you had a point to make. So, fuck my final thoughts. Seawolf, you're back up.
Robert, South Carolina is gone. Oh, but on a serious note, I'm going to speak as a practitioner of Scyther and Gulder real quick when it comes to Peyton Parrish and the entire concept that we're talking about tonight. And I'm going to be quick about this because I know you want to wrap this up, whatever. Specifically in Icelandic magic, there is something known as the core and the mind works. You have to have them work together. What is here? What is in your intuition? What's in your heart? What are your intentions? And also using your brain, your intellect, your experience, what you've learned, what you soak in. Intentions when it comes to Galdr, Icelandic magic, and inside there is one of the most important aspects of the focus. Your intentions, if they are untrue, if they are nefarious, malicious, veiled, then what you are producing is without honor. It's untrue. It's misguiding. It's misleading. It's negative. However, if you are expressing yourself in the most truest of ways, honesty, genuine intentions, focus, highly motivated to ensure that you are producing the best of yourself for others, that is the honorable way to walk. No true practitioner of Scyther or Galdr is going to have ulterior motives that are of the negative. So with that being said, when you have someone like Peyton Parrish, who clearly from day fucking one has had nothing but ulterior motives for his self-gain, doesn't give a fuck about anybody else. I personally, especially with him using the Norse traditions, I take personal, deep fucking insult to that. All right, I'll show.
There is Hope, and then I'm going to bring up one more person, and we're going to close this out. Hope, what's up?
Just to piggyback off of what you just said, I think that is exactly why so many of us see right through his bullshit and haven't bought it from day one and find it frankly disrespectful. And it just, it's gross. That's it.
Lucky, I know you were here before. I'm bringing you back before we close out for the evening. Welcome back to Open Lines, my friend.
Hi.
So, welcome. Welcome to Open Lines.
I just got home from a ruthless day of babysitting and getting attacked by a dog probably 30 times my size, but I'm here.
And venting about Peyton Parrish is going to somehow help you decompress. I'm masochistic.
It sucks my ass cheek. Okay?
Masochistic, but I'm here for it.
As a Satanist, he can still suck my left ass cheek. Okay,
Tell us how you really feel.
Can I run him over? Never mind. I'll shut up. I'm gonna get banned. I'm gonna get us in trouble. Jess says I got cheese. I want cheese. I love cheese. Cheese is life.
Okay, so this has gone hilariously off the fucking. Oh, okay. We got one
No,
more.
but seriously, when it comes to fucking Peyton Parrish, I'm just gonna say this. That was just a fucking money grab for him. Like, he knew exactly what he was doing. He said that in a live that it was the devil made me do it. He didn't make you do shit. You knew exactly what you were fucking doing, and now you're gonna use my fucking religion, who is a Satanist, as a fucking cop-out and excuse. That's exactly what he fucking did.
Just to add, Peyton Parrish said that I have demons today and that he was going to talk scripture to me and that he was going to make my demons uncomfortable. So I quoted scripture back and said, the devil knows scripture. And well, that didn't go over very well. And I have been blocked by Peyton Parrish himself. No, not by his mods, by him himself. I cannot see his account anymore. So I feel like I have done the good Lord's work by telling him that Jesus would not recognize him. Anyway,
So Peyton Parrish has yet to block me. I'm unsure as to why. However, yesterday I provoked something in his brain, and because he said, and I quote, and now mind you, I'm not sure if he was doing his best worst Tommy Chong impression, but it is what it is. He said, paganism, it's what you manifest into the world, bro. It's what you put into reality. It's what goes into the world that goes against God, man. And I responded with, sir, your definition of paganism is cartoonishly incorrect. He turned around and said, I can't, I'm not, he goes, that's my definition. That's my truth. That's how I'm going to live by my truth. I'm not oppressing people. I'm not converting people. And he said, Einar, am I oppressing you? Maybe it's a good thing that I make you feel oppressed. I walked out of the live. I walked back into the live today, and when I realized he was there, before Maddie came in, before anybody else came in, I just put in the comments 5 times, oppress me, daddy. Oppress me. But yeah, Leo.
I got one last thing. What I mean by the sacredness of certain things, for instance, a lot of people don't know that the really popular song that goes around, My Mother Told Me, right? That was not a song. That was a letter from a boy to his mother and family. And it is a historical document. That's not in the Eddas. That's from the sagas of the Icelander. It is a literal historical document, a real life living piece of history where he's telling the Dranger on the ship that he's going with, I want to be here, but I'm nervous. My mother told me to do this. My mother told me for me to be a man and make that rite of passage into manhood from being a boy, I need to find my way to the world and find my own good ore. I need to find a good ship with Valley so that I can bring back the proof that I have become a man. My mother is begging me to do this so that I am seen by my kinfolk as a man. And it's literally a story, a poem. It is a letter that he wrote to his mother and his brother back in Scandinavia when he was on his travels abroad on this Dranger voyage. And it was literally given back to them when he came back. And the sacredness behind that, a living person, someone from our culture with the ideals of that, making sure it's important that is upholding those ancestral traditions, making sure that that cultural love for family lineage and keeping hold to those old family traditions, and keeping them alive within his every sense of being. That is what that is about. It's not a song singing, oh, it's a war song. No, it's literally a letter and a poem to his fucking mother about, are you proud of me? Did I do what you asked me to do? Am I doing a good job to keep our family's good name by doing what my forefathers have done? Am I living up to the expectation of our ancestors within accordance to our culture and faith? That's what that is about.
That's
And
why
who capitalizes on that and fucks it up so horribly and then makes millions of dollars off of it, selling it to blind, deaf, dumb Americans. It's disrespectful to the meaning and the sacredness of the culture.
that's why they used it in the show Vikings the way that they did, the song between the brothers across the valley to one another. That's the reason they used it that way.
Yep. All right, everybody, it's time for my final thoughts. So if you please, all of you mute up. I'd very much appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, and all points in between, this was the very first ever episode of I Am Heathen and So Can You Open Lines. We will be doing this shit again when something big and something so stupid comes into our purview that it bears repeating and bears a bunch of angry heathens fucking talking about it. I would like to thank Maddie. I would like to thank Liam. I'd like to thank Shadow Wolf, Seawolf. A lot of fucking wolves in here today. Hope, thank you for coming in today. Justin, everybody who showed up, and our Satanist in residence, Lucky. Thank you so fucking much for all of what we did and said here today. If you want to find us outside of this platform, you can find us on TikTok at Chef Blackthorn, or I am Heathen, and so can I am Heathen POD. That's I am Heathen Pod. And yes, I'm choking on my tongue while Seawolf is violently shaking in the corner. That's totally okay. And remember, to have faith does not mean to be afraid. It is okay to live with your faith. It is okay to be proud of your fucking faith. This is a very divisive time we all live in, and at the end of the day, I don't care where you're from. So long as a Mjolnir is draped around your neck, so long as you have the gods, the ancestors, and the spirits in your mind and in your heart and in your fucking soul, we are stronger together. This has been a Blackthorn production.